A warning for you now. This story does contain details that people may find distressing. In the past few hours, a childcare worker who raped and sexually abused children at a nursery in Bristol has been sentenced to 30 years and will serve at least 2/3 of his sentence in prison. A judge described the abuse carried out by 30-year-old Nathan Bennett as every parent's nightmare. Let's take you to our correspondent who has been following this case for us, Fiona Landon, who joins us from Bristol. Fiona.
Yeah, good afternoon. It was a very distressing morning in court as Nathan Bennett was sentenced to 30 years for raping and sexually abusing young toddlers at the nursery where he worked, not far from where I'm standing in Bristol. He was caught on CCTV at the nursery. I've been speaking to one of the mothers who first raised concerns.
He was someone I handed my child to. He was a monster and a predator, and he preyed on toddlers, and they didn't do enough to stop him.
Nathan Bennett, a nursery worker in Bristol who raped and sexually assaulted some of the toddlers in his care. Bennett looked after this mum's child. Anna, not her real name, doesn't think her child was sexually abused.
I always thought he was a bit weird. And then over time, thinking he was a bit weird became thinking he was a bit creepy.
She reported this to the nursery at the start of February last year.
She said to me, "I will investigate, but I won't find anything." And I remember feeling so shocked by that because it's the exact opposite of the attitude you should take in safeguarding.
We now know Bennett went on to abuse boys after Anna raised concerns.
It's really shocking that he was allowed to be with children on his own for extended periods of time, repeatedly.
Partou, which ran the nursery, has said, depending on the layout, it's not always possible to ensure that every staff member is within sight of a colleague at all times. Adding, an independent review found their safeguarding policies were compliant with national guidance. But it wasn't until a few weeks later that a manager spotted Bennett's abuse on nursery CCTV.
What we've seen on CCTV was absolutely sickening. And it is him offending against children in the middle of the nursery in sight of other children. There is nothing that could prepare you for seeing that. He's worked in childcare for a number of years. My worry is that there will be other victims that we haven't been able to identify that are too young to understand what's happened to them.
Nathan, is it?
Yes.
All right, I'm dear.
5 months later, 30-year-old Bennett was charged.
Do you find it easier to be around children?
Yeah. In a professional way.
Nathan Bennett had previously worked with children. Investigators say the full extent of his abuse may never be known. Well, the victim impact statements for 3 of those young boys was read out in court. And the contrast when you heard about them describing their sons as being cheerful and hilarious and lively. They loved swimming and dressing up as pirates. And then the contrast when those parents described the horror, the moment when the police had to tell them that their sons had been victims in this awful, awful abuse. One dad said that he felt like he had died inside, that his entire world had turned grey. In sentencing Bennett, Judge William Hart described him as an evil, dangerous paedophile. He said, "You have been lurking, ready to abuse children and to pollute their innocence with your own vile desires." Nathan Bennett was sentenced to 30 years this morning.